Hello, everyone. Welcome to our training session today for affirmative action. Thank you for all coming, and I hope we have a great time today. And to get started, let's go ahead and do an icebreaker. So, if everyone can please get into groups of 4 or 5 people, and we'll get started with this icebreaker. Okay, well that was a lot of fun, and some of you guys had some very interesting responses. Uh, and then I can tell some of you, like me, also, um, I didn't know much about affirmative action before before I learned about it. So this should be a really informative session for some of you guys, and I hope to clear up any misconceptions about affirmative action. Um, so yes, so what you guys should know after this session is what affirmative action is. Um, why our company has an affirmative action plan, and as managers and leaders in your department, how you can participate in our affirmative action plan in each of your departments. And so let's get right into it. So what is affirmative action? Affirmative action, it has been described as those actions appropriate to overcome the effects of past or present practices, policies, or other barriers to equal employment opportunity. Um, so that's the way it's been defined before by other people and other entities. But the way we like to think of it as it's just the best way to kind of sum it up for me is to that affirmative action is just a policy that um, that basically companies want to take the stance of proactively um, eliminating discrimination in a workplace. Um, and groups of people that are typically the focus of affirmative action plans are women, minorities, disabled persons, and certain veterans. Those are typically the people that benefit the most from affirmative action plans and are typically the focus. Um, and as I said before, we really just see this as a policy to proactively address discrimination within our workplace. Okay, so when is affirmative action required legally? If you're a company that contracts with the government, then you have to have an affirmative action plan in place. Or if there's a legal settlement uh, that requires you to have an affirmative action plan or a court order. But our company does not fall under any of those three categories. We elected to go ahead and do this voluntarily. Um, Now, why did we do that? And we believe that it's great. We don't want to have discrimination in our workplace. We don't want to have discrimination in our organization. And we just put this in place to proactively deal with anything in our organization that could be discriminatory or any policies that could be discriminatory, whether intentional or not intentional. And we just want to ensure fairness for everyone throughout the organization. Make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to be promoted. Everyone has an equal opportunity to get into the positions that they want to get into, or if in order to get into those positions they need training or additional training to get into those positions. We want to make sure that people have that opportunity. Um, so now, some of you may have heard a lot of negativity about affirmative action, and based off of some of y'all's responses um, in the icebreakers, I think I can tell that some of you have been affected by that negative um, that negative opinion going around out there about affirmative action. So what's all the controversy about? Uh, there's some people that take affirmative action the wrong way. They see it as reverse discrimination. Like companies that institute affirmative action plans are going to only hire minorities or only promote minorities or only promote women or only hire women or something like that, something along those lines. Um, and but that in our company, I want you guys to know. I mean, I can't speak for every organization out there, but in our company, I want to ensure each and every one of you that there's not going to be any. We're going to do our utmost best to have no discrimination in any form, and that is our goal. It is our goal to ensure there's no discrimination in any form in this organization. Now, what does an affirmative action plan actually look like? Well, it involves several things. A quantitative analysis of the workforce to see if there's any imbalance or in people getting promoted or imbalance in any department or things like that. Just looking at it from a statistical standpoint to see if everything lines up, if everything is going the way it should be going. It also involves the identification of problem areas, areas that we need to maybe improve upon, things like that. Placement goals, where we want to be, where we the ideal situation, what would we want that to look like? Set those kinds of goals. Action-oriented programs, designation of responsibility for implementation, which you guys can help us with, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And also procedures for periodic internal audits of progress in meeting goals. So every once in a while, we'll check up on how we're doing to see if we're meeting our goals, if things look good, and we're not just going to do this one time and then just think, oh yeah, that's going to magically work. So we just want periodically we'll check in and make sure that things are going according to plan, or if there's any changes we need to make in the future. So you're probably wondering what the effects affirmative action actually has. Does it actually do anything? Is it doing something positive? Is it doing something negative? So there's been a study done of over 3,200 employees, and the study found, I would say, mostly positive results. Here's a couple of highlights from that study. Firms using affirmative action used a wider variety of recruitment mechanisms, particularly those likely to reach minority applicants. Overall, job performance levels for women and people of color in firms using affirmative action were equal to, and for some groups exceeded, the typical job performance level of employees in those firms. Firms using affirmative action recruited and hired somewhat more women and people of color, with women being the clearest beneficiaries. So, that's great news for women. That's great news for minorities. And this study didn't really show any effects of how, we talked about the misconceptions earlier. There's no really sign that this is reverse discrimination. It's just helping people that are being discriminated against to have the opportunities they deserve. It gives them an equal footing. Now, as managers in your department, what can you help us do? You can help us identify potential issues in your department, whether that be a statistical imbalance or something you may know about that we may not know about. Ensure that your promotion decisions are merit-based and not based off of any protected class characteristics, like sex or race, for example. And also just analyze the composition of your workforce at different levels. See if there's any imbalance within your department at any particular level. We don't want to see something like the lowest level, of your company is the level with the most uh, minorities or most women or something like that. We want to see everyone having an opportunity to move up and to advance. So keep an eye on that for us. And now we'll that we've covered all that, we'll move into our question and answer session. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.